Everyone thought this was just another homecoming night, until the Queen did something that froze the entire stadium, and only later did people learn why one girl on that field couldn't stop crying. Homecoming night at Forest County Agricultural High School looked ordinary at first glance. The football field glowed under bright stadium lights, the stands were full, and the familiar excitement of tradition hung in the air. Families settled into their seats, students waved to friends, and phones were raised ready to capture another picture-perfect moment. Nothing about the night suggested something was about to happen that would actually make headlines across the country. Laughter echoed through the stadium, but not everyone was smiling. Among the group stood Brittany Walters. She walked slowly beside her father, their arms linked. Her head was slightly lowered, and her expression didn't match the celebration happening around her. While everyone else seemed caught up in the excitement, Brittany looked distant, overwhelmed, and visibly emotional, and people began to notice. Some assumed it was nerves. Others thought she might just be feeling the pressure of the moment. No one knew the real reason for her sadness, only that something felt off. As the ceremony continued, the anticipation built toward the final announcement, the homecoming queen. Students leaned forward in their seats. Parents adjusted their cameras. The music softened as the principal prepared to read the name. When Nyla Covington was announced as the winner, the crowd erupted. Cheers filled the stadium, and applause rolled through the stands. Nyla had been voted by her classmates and was well known throughout the school. She was a strong student, kind and respected. From the outside, it looked like a well-earned moment, but instead of immediately stepping forward, Nyla stopped in her tracks. After speaking to her teachers, instead of placing the crown on her own head, she walked directly toward Brittany. Confusion rippled through the stands. People leaned toward one another, unsure of what they were seeing. And then, realization hit. Nyla gently placed the crown on Brittany's head. For a moment, the stadium stood completely still. Then the emotion broke through all at once. Brittany collapsed into tears, overwhelmed by what had just happened. Her father stood beside her, gripping her arm as he struggled to hold himself together. Across the stands, faces changed. Some people covered their mouths. Others wiped their eyes. A wave of emotion swept through the crowd without anyone fully understanding why. It wasn't until later that the truth came out. Earlier that same morning, Brittany had experienced a loss that no one her age should ever have to face. Her mother, A.J. Walters, had passed away after a long battle with cancer. She wasn't just Brittany's mom. She was a familiar face at the school, someone who worked in the office and knew students, parents, and teachers alike. She had spent years helping others, always present, always kind. Despite everything happening behind the scenes, Brittany had still chosen to come to homecoming. What many people didn't know was how much that night meant to her mother. Even while fighting illness, AJ held on to one wish. She wanted her daughter to walk across that football field on homecoming night. It was something she talked about often. As her condition worsened, she knew she might not be there to see it herself. So she made one final request. She asked her husband to promise that he would walk Brittany across the field in her place. That promise was kept. What made the moment even more powerful was how close Brittany had come to not attending homecoming at all. In the weeks leading up to the event, her mother had been receiving treatment far from home. Without her there to help prepare, everything felt overwhelming. A close family friend quietly reached out to the community for help. The response was immediate. Money was raised to cover a dress, hair, makeup, and even senior portraits. Those portraits became especially meaningful. Brittany's mother was able to see them just hours before she passed away. By the time homecoming night arrived, an entire community had already been supporting Brittany, even if most people in the stands didn't realize it yet. And then there was Nyla. When she saw Brittany standing there, clearly struggling, she didn't think about votes, tradition, or attention. She followed her instincts and chose compassion. School administrators later said they weren't surprised by Nyla's actions. She had always been known for her character. But no one could have predicted the impact of what she did in that moment. Standing on that field, Brittany wasn't just wearing a crown, she was surrounded by love, support, and a reminder that she wasn't alone, even on one of the hardest days of her life. Many people later said it felt as if Brittany's mother was still there that night, not physically, but through the kindness, unity, and selflessness that filled the stadium. Photos and videos of the moment spread quickly, reaching people far beyond the small town. Yet Nyla And her family, who weren't active on social media, had no idea how widely the story traveled. She hadn't done it to be seen. The entire school community was deeply moved by Nyla's decision, and by the end of the night, there wasn't a dry eye in the stands. Students, teachers, and parents all felt the weight of the moment, a gesture so simple, yet so profoundly human. Photos and videos of Nyla placing the crown on Britney's head quickly spread through social media, and what had started as a small-town event became a story that touched people across the country. News outlets shared the story, praising the empathy and selflessness shown by a high school student, while countless strangers expressed their admiration for the way one small act could transform a day filled with grief into a moment of hope. When it was revealed that both girls planned to attend college next year to pursue degrees in nursing, the story took on an even deeper meaning. To honor them and their selflessness, The Ellen DeGeneres Show invited the girls to appear on the show, sharing their story with a nationwide audience. On the program, Nyla and Britney were each gifted a $10,000 check from Tiz Best to help them pursue their dreams of becoming nurses. But the surprises didn't end there. Each girl also received a $5,000 Tiz Best charity gift card, giving them the opportunity to continue the chain of generosity by donating to causes that mattered most to them. Even after all the attention, the girls remained humble. The headlines, the social media posts, and the gifts weren't what defined the moment. For them, it was about empathy, understanding, and showing up for one another when it mattered most. Through it all, Britney continued to grieve her mother's loss, supported by her father, friends, and the school community that had quietly rallied behind her. Nyla, meanwhile, returned to her life at school, continuing her studies, never claiming any spotlight, never expecting praise. And yet, in choosing to listen to her heart, she had created a story that would be remembered far beyond the walls of the stadium. A story that showed how courage and kindness can shine even in moments of pain. In the end, this wasn't a story about winning homecoming queen. It wasn't even about a crown. It was about recognizing pain without needing an explanation, about choosing kindness when no one expects it, and about two young women standing on a football field reminding the world what real grace looks like. Because real queens don't hold on to crowns. They know when to give them away.